Welcome back to the Man That Can Project podcast. Awesome to have the returning listeners like yourself. And if you are tuning in for the first time, I'm excited to share today's episode with you. Today's guests are the Wade twins, Henry and William Wade. Now, I was introduced to these legends from Matt Choi, who was on last week's episode of the podcast. They actually all connected at the New York Marathon. I was following along on the socials, and then Matty's like, you got to meet these guys. These guys have just ran 7 marathons in 7 days. I think you would hit it off really well with them. And well, here we are. We're about to have a chat. Very excited to chat with these dudes. So we're going to find out more about what inspired them to run the 7 marathons in 7 days, how they've created such, they've amassed over 1 million followers across TikTok, their Instagrams, and various other platforms, which is pretty exciting to see how they've become influencers in the fitness and lifestyle world. So I'm definitely going to be picking their brains around that, but more so we're going to dive down that route of the challenges and the mindset and what inspired the 7 marathons in 7 days. Like I said, before we dive into this, if you get value from it, like, share, subscribe, because the reviews that you leave for the podcast are like currency. It helps me invite more guests on the show. And when they see that there's a great audience behind it and people are loving it, they're more likely to want to jump on board. So if you could take a quick moment to do that, that would be awesome. And if you are sitting back wondering how you can get involved with the Academy, head over to the manthatcanproject.com/strongmen of value and find out how you can get started working towards being a better version of yourself today. 7:10.
Oh, what, in the evening?
Yeah.
Oh, mate, you've had the whole Monday. You've done it all. We've got it all to go.
No, Sunday.
Hold on, I'm not even on my... Yeah, mate, it's going to be a ripper day. I'll give you that hot tip. We were at a theme park today. I took my nephew, 9-year-old nephew, to Wet and Wild. It's called. It's like a massive water park.
Yeah, amazing, mate.
I took him out of school thinking that everyone else would be at school, so we didn't have to deal with all the kids. But there was literally 3 schools there. There was kids everywhere. It was less than ideal.
You can't win. You can't win, can you? I bet it was more fun for you. I bet it was more fun for you than it was for your nephew.
Yeah, I loved it. I had a ball. I'm sunburned, but it was great fun. How are you guys? What time's it there?
Yeah, good man. So, mate, it's just gone 9:10 in the morning on a Monday. So we've had our coffee, we've had a bit of breakfast, had our oatmeal, and we're feeling good, bro.
Still nursing the weekend's hangover, mate, but we're good.
What'd you guys get up to over the weekend?
Well, mate, if I'm honest, we basically, obviously, coming off the 7 and 7, and we were training so hard, and we had such like tunnel vision to get like into this competition and be ready, that we missed out on seeing friends, family. So we just wanted to have a bit of fun, go back to a little bit of like almost normal life. So we just went out to see friends, had a few drinks, and it was just like, I haven't done this in so long. So it was like 1 beer, 2 beers, 3 beers, 4 beers, and then you're like,
steaming.
Yesterday we had to, but always on the next day, Will and I are quite good. We always make sure we get up, go for a run, or sweat it out, because you're always going to feel so much better doing that, aren't you, than you are just sitting around being lazy, eating pizza. So we always try and get up, get moving, sweat all the toxins out, and you're going to feel so much better.
And then we have
that. Yeah. I was watching. I've been watching both your stories since we got connected. A heap, just to sort of see more about what you guys are up to and all the awesome work. And man, I was so inspired. Like, obviously, Maddie introduced us and said, I met these 2 epic dudes who just run 7 marathons in 7 days, and they finished with the New York one. I was like, what? Yeah. These guys are epic. Mate, I need to chat with them.
Mate, thank you for having us, mate. I really appreciate it. Been listening to your stuff as well. We listened to the Matt's podcast with you, and it inspired us, mate. It was amazing. Matty's such a nice guy, and the work you're doing is amazing as well. So keep up with it, mate.
When it comes to like networking, the content creating, and meeting people, man, Henry and I just love trying to meet new people. And when we met Matt, we were like, mate, we've got to go for coffee. Let's just catch up. We literally had a half an hour chat, and we were just on the same wavelength. Yeah. Which gone so well. Yeah, we just connect massively.
Yeah, and you're both your content. Like, I've been reading, because I love, obviously you guys do incredible videos, but then you've got great photography, but you write brilliant posts with them as well. And I feel like I can learn a lot about you guys through reading what you're writing about. And one of my questions was going to be, why are you doing the 7 marathons? And then I saw you doing it for mental health, which is obviously the stars align for all of us here. But then Will, also, that was off the back of your experience. You had a house burn down or something
Yeah,
crazy and
yeah.
experienced
Yeah.
PTSD. What was that
Yeah,
like
man.
for
So,
you?
I think, mate, it was a really weird situation. I think when something about that so significant happens in your life, you don't think it's going to happen to you, right? You see this stuff in movies, so you see it on TV, like on movies. You're like, oh my god, and this thing, and it happens. When I was in it, mate. I was trying to put the fire out. I cut my hair singed off, cut my arm up, eyebrows went, everything. I was that close to it, so I was really. It hit me. I think the first week after it, I was all like, I'll be fine. I'll be fine. I'm a very positive kind of guy. And I always think, like there's someone out there who's worse off than me or whatever. I'll get through this. But I had to really dwell on it and be like, wow, what's happened to me? And it hit me hard for about 2-3 months. I was really, really mentally scarred from it. And just like for small things, I kept waking up in the middle of the night, and I thought like so I moved home with my parents for about a couple of months just to like get myself rebalanced again. And I used to wake up in the middle of the night and think the house is on fire, and I just couldn't sleep. So for a month, I reckon I was getting about maximum an hour to 2 hours sleep a night, just in and out, and everything just came out. I mean, I started putting on so much weight. My skin got terrible. My anxiety was through the roof, and again, just everything just came out of me. But then I look back at it, and it's like, look, I learned a lot from that. But I think you're allowed to dwell on situations like this, right? You dwell on it for a period of time, and then it's how we pick ourselves back up from situations. And I always say, look, it's how we, when you fall, it's how you pick yourself back up, right? Always fall forward, not backwards. And yeah, so I picked myself back up, and I was like, listen, Will, turn this all this around now. You've dwelled on it for long enough. Let's pick yourself back up and move on again. And I said, like, I just want to have a really big year when it comes to work, business, content, and stuff. And this has probably been with Henry as well, our biggest year to date, and we've had a really, really successful year so far.
That's awesome. Thanks for sharing that,
But
Will.
life's-
And
yeah, but
also,
you know what life's like? Like life's just it's a big roller coaster, right? We all have ups and we all have downs, and it's just how you ride it. It's how you ride the ups, it's how you ride the downs, and we're all going to have them downs, man. And it's just how you pick yourself back up.
What was really important, I think, what Will said there was about how when you are in these moments when you're really low, a lot of people stay there and they like blame external factors for the situation they're in, and they go, oh well, the government's bad, or politics is bad, or the weather's bad, or something. And actually, you can't control those. So we always say, if you can't control them, then don't focus on them. Just focus on the things you can control, and then you can pick yourself back up and you can still get somewhere. So when Will was saying there, like, dwell on things for a bit, definitely, like, you've got to almost feel that emotion to understand it, and then once you feel it, then you can do the work and make it better. So if you're struggling really bad with anxiety, it's like, right, I know I'm struggling. What coping mechanisms can I do to make these anxieties better? And then you do that, and then it's like you understand it, because like things like anxiety and things like that, they're never going to go. They'll always come up in our lives, no matter how successful or however well you're doing. It's just how you can properly cope with it. And if you understand when it's coming and use like a coping mechanism to understand it and cope with it, then you're just going to be so much better.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So
100%. And you guys are obviously twins, or I didn't, for those who aren't watching, they're listening, you guys are twins. And identical. Henry, how was it for you watching Will go through that experience? Like, great support network for each other, but what was that like for you?
Should we just say, this is the first time we're actually looking slightly different at the moment as well, because I've got longer hair than Henry.
He'll wear that.
It's the first time in our lives we look different.
So it was really tough, mate, because I know Will so well. Like, I can read him like anything, and he knows that, and he can read me. So we've been together for
Twin telepathy.
Twin telepathy, it does exist, yeah. And at first, I was a bit like, right, a weekend, Will kept coming to mind. He was trying to work, and then he was suddenly just hitting, like, out of the blue. He would just be like, I can't do this, going really, really like upset, depressed, or whatever. And I was like, mate, you just need to have some time out. And the thing is, with Will and I, we rely on each other a lot. And it's like, I rely on Will to do something because obviously he's technically my business partner as well as my brother. And he relies on me a lot. And what I've kind of learned is sometimes you've got to not always rely on someone to get something done, because when we are working together, it's like, right, I rely on Will to do this. But in life, if you have a business partner and they do have something wrong, or something goes wrong with them, and then you're expecting them to do something, you can't wait for them to do it. You've got to go and do it yourself. And that's how you learn a lot about, and you just have to end up kind of changing the route a bit. Does that make sense? But still getting to the same destination. And it was really hard for me to watch Will go through it, because obviously I am his brother as well as his business partner. But I was trying to hold on to the business, but then I understood what he was going through. So it was just like being really patient. And sometimes, because it's when you work with your brother, it can be like, oh, come on, Will, you get a bit frustrated. But then I had to really understand what he had just been through. Like, he came round my house and he lied on my sofa the day after it happened. And it was the real first time I've had proper gratitude. Like, we wake up every day and I'm grateful. I think gratitude is really important. I'm grateful for things I have, because if I'm having a bad day, it's like, right, I'm really grateful for things, because actually a lot of people in this world, like, I've been to Cambodia, I've seen kids begging on the street, and you've got to realize how grateful you are for the most tiniest things. But this gratitude was different. Like, I could have lost my brother that night. And he was on my sofa, passed out, because obviously he hadn't slept the night before. And I just looked at him and I almost stood over him, being like what? It really hit me. Like, that was the true gratitude I've really had.
It took me probably about 2-3 weeks to really digest it all and understand that I could have actually died in that situation. And you don't think about it, because you think, and I was obviously fine, but my mum and dad called me the next day and they were crying.
Yeah.
You really could have died. I was like, Jesus Christ, I could have. Like, it's mad. Yeah.
Yeah, it's like a significant thing, right? Like, huge to have your house burned down.
I still think it's kind of affecting my anxiety and stuff today as well. And look, Henry and I, we see therapists. We've seen a therapist now for the last 2 years.
Yeah.
We've seen on a regular occasion, every bi-weekly. And I speak to her about this a lot. She's like, look, well, I think it really is throwing you off edge, alongside some other external factors as well, like relationships or whatever. And she was like, look, you can't expect this to be fixed overnight. It takes time, but it's good that you've kind of like dwelled on it for a bit, and now you're moving forward and stuff. But yeah, these things are so significant, and it's still like today. Like, I think it really threw me so much. It threw me so off balance that, yeah, and even like today, I'm still kind of like slowly recovering from it, if that makes sense.
Yep. I saw a video you posted earlier. Like, I love that honesty of, like, when you're actually experiencing anxiety. I would imagine. Sorry.
No, sorry, man. Come on.
I was going to say, I would imagine our cultures are fairly similar, where men really find it struggle to. There's two things that you guys mentioned. One, you see therapists, bi-weekly or regularly, myself included, but there is still a stigma around asking for help or seeing psychologists or therapists and counselors. But every time I see one, I feel like a weight's been lifted off my shoulder, even if I'm going in there and I'm like,
100%.
I
think we've been quite privileged, because Will and I, a lot of people can't afford therapy, and we understand it is something that we've managed to afford, because we've worked hard to get some income to be able to afford it. And I think therapy is one of those things where it is a lot of stigma, and you talk about it and people are like, well, I don't need that. But honestly, I think for me, I always say it's like understanding your shadow. Like, if you understand your shadow a bit more, then you just become a better self-aware person. And it's been so beneficial. Like, we are who we are because of our childhood experiences to an extent. And if you understand everything you've gone through, whether it be a trauma, whether it be anything that happened significant in your childhood, and you just kind of understand that and break down that, then you just understand you so much better. And it makes you become more of a vulnerable person as well. And just makes you know who you are. And you just don't care about what other people judge you for, because only you know who you really are. Does that make sense? So, and I think a lot of people look at Will and I, and they'll probably judge us for like the way we look, the way we dress. We like to dress well. That's one of our big things. We are very outgoing. We like to dress well, so we like our fashion, because that's what we primarily do, as well as fitness. And yeah, we're very confident, outgoing. We talk to everyone, and a lot of people think, oh, these guys, whatever. But actually, the reason why we love talking about like mental health and anxiety is because it's such a normal thing. If they think we're like, confident, whatever, but then we go and post things on our stories about us breaking down because we're having anxiety, that just shows that it is okay to be okay, and we should be talking about these things, because we are real. Yeah, it's authentic, right? We don't need to. I think the problem is people judge so much in life, and you judge people for their Instagrams, the way they dress, their hair color, the way they look, when actually if we could just have a life less judged, then I think everyone will be a lot happier as well. And like it's always says, I use the same example all the time. So when we run a marathon, like the London Marathon or the New York Marathon, the crowd are roaring you on, come on, Henry, and they don't judge you for the way you look, the way you're running, how slow you're going. They're just so supportive. But in real life, we take that and we'll probably look at someone and go, God, they're running weird. But why we subconsciously do it, and it's like, for what reason? We shouldn't be doing that. So I always say,
had that encouragement every day.
I always say, if we could instead give someone a positive compliment. Remember, you're walking down the street, oh, I like your jacket. Like, for example, I just went into the coffee shop today, and there's this guy who wears the most random jackets every day. And I always go to, like, today I went to him, I love that jacket, mate. It's giving me Christmas spirit. And he was so shocked, because in London, you don't really give compliments. But to me, that made me feel really happy. And then in deep down, it's probably going to make him feel happy as well. So it's like, why can't we do that more often? Like, why don't we do it?
I walk down the street on the way in the morning to go grab my coffee on the way to the gym. And I say,
he does it all the time.
I say good morning to about 10 people. I'm like, morning. And everyone's looking like, who are you at 7 in the morning saying hello to me? I'm like, I'm just trying to spread good joy.
We need more of it in the life. We need more of it.
Honestly, in London, everyone's like, who the hell are you at 6:30 in the morning wishing me a good morning? Go away.
You don't get it. You don't get it here in London.
Where do you guys think you learnt that from, though? Like the empathy and compassion, and just.
I think we got brought up in a very loving family. My mum and dad instilled good manners into us all the time. But it's really weird. When I think for Henry and I, we've got so much energy. Like when
Duracell bunnies here.
We're literally Duracell bunnies. So when we were.
We're trying to be tame on this podcast now. Otherwise, he'll be talking at 200 miles an hour, and you'll have to slow the audio right down for your audience.
I'm breathing. So when we were kids, mate, we used to get to school at like 8 in the morning, and everyone would be like, "Oh my God, the wade's here! Shut up! It's too early for you to." And we'd be like, "What's going on?" And we just always had this energy. I honestly don't know where we get this kind of energy from. The compassion and the loving sides, obviously, from my family and my mum and dad, instilling good values into us and stuff. When it comes to manners, say please and thank you. Always like say hello to someone. Hold a door open. Little things like that. Always smile. Walk with your shoulders back. Little things like that. But I think just as the older we've gotten, we've just had this like mad, massive energy, and we don't know really where we get it from. But everyone's like, "How are you boys always doing stuff, moving every single day?" And we're just like, I have no idea. We just do it.
I think if you want to get something done at the end of the day, you kind of just have to do it, don't you? Just don't really think about anything else. And as I was saying earlier, like you kind of don't worry about the external factors. You just focus on what you can control and let go of what you can't, and try and divert through the traffic of life and get to your destination.
Definitely. That brings us back to the marathons then as well. Like, for you, for me, when I heard that, it's like, it sounds ridiculous to be able to do that. Like, I don't know how your bodies didn't break down, or did they break down? But I haven't even completed one marathon yet.
You got to, bro. So we were training quite aggressively for the London Marathon, and I had a big training block, and I was going into it with the aim to get sub 3 hours, and so was Will. And we were training hard, and off the back of that, unfortunately, Will pulled out of an injury, but he was fine. It was just lack of awareness on the race day, I'd say. Bit over. Excited, I'd say,
So on the London Marathon, I got off so quick, and I was like, boom, this is my plan. And I pulled out over halfway. All my injuries just kind of came at once. I just went off far too quickly. If you're going to go run a marathon, don't go off that quick.
Whereas
pace it.
That was it. Whereas I got my sub 3 hour. I was really happy with that. But we both basically carried on the training plan. We kind of led up to it, because you can't really train for any of this. Like, what do? You go out for 4 marathons in a row, not 7. Do you know what I mean? Like, because the recovery is so much. So we kind of just continued our training, and we went into it relatively fit. Will was injury free, and the first 2 weren't so bad. Like, it was like our bodies were a bit nervous, like going into the second one, because we'd never actually ran even a 10K after a marathon. So I was a bit like unsure about how our bodies were going to cope.
After a marathon, usually we don't even train.
You have like a day off. And we went into this one, and it was just like, oh, your knees feel a bit weird, but then your body does adjust to it. Every single day, your body will put you through it. And then after about 3 or 4 days, it becomes more of a mental game and less of a physical thing. And it's just like, what can your mind do? And your mind can take you places far more than you believe. And I just think I think a lot of people give up too early on their endeavors, because they focus too much on the end goal, and they don't really focus on breaking that whole goal down. So when I ever say to anyone running a marathon, every day in my head, I was going, it's only 4 10Ks, and I can run a 10K for breakfast. And that's the way I see it. So you break it down, you get through to the first 10K, fine. Second 10K, fine. Third 10K, let's stick on a podcast. Then it's the final 10K, and you're like, come on, Henry, I've done this for breakfast. This is what you do every day. This is easy. And then you kind of, if you switch those thoughts around in your head And I always like to say this, I know it's so simple, but if you just say you can instead of you can't, you're going to get the same result. If you say you can't do something, you won't be able to do it. But if you say you can, you're more likely you're going to be able to.
And do you know what? I said this massive to Henry. It's like how we like kind of like trigger our own thoughts. Like we've got to like and kind of like explain to ourselves. It's how we program our minds, right? So the first 2 days for me, I was negatively speaking to myself. I was like, why am I doing this? I can't do 7 and 7. What am I doing? And then and then the second, and then the third and fourth day, although my body was breaking down a bit more, I said to myself, "Will, change these negative thoughts around, because we are what we think we are, who we are, right? And how we program ourselves is how we're gonna be as individuals.
If you think you're gonna be anxious, you'll be anxious. If you think you're gonna walk into a room and be like unconfident or shy, you'll be shy. If you do the opposite, you will become the things you think.
I said to myself, "Will, start programming yourself to be a bit more like you are going to do this. You're going to be able to do it." And I just switched my programming around, and in my head, and I kept saying that. And honestly, the positive thoughts is such a powerful thing. Like manifestation, whatever, positive thinking is so powerful. And you realize you can do anything in life once you set your mind to it, and just by putting one foot in front of the other, you'll get something done. And we've really realized that by just doing these 7 and 7.
Do you guys practice all the visualization and manifestation and stuff as just a part of daily life as well, or was that just for the marathons?
Well, I think we hear a lot of people wake up in the day and they say they look in the mirror, they give themselves 3 positive affirmations, and they say all this visualization. I think you've got to go up. I think if you want something in life, you do have to write it down and say, right, I want to get here, and then work your way backwards and be like, right, I've got to go through these stages to get there. I don't necessarily think it's actual. I think it is in terms. I don't actually visualize it. I kind of do in my head, but I can't know where I want to get to. Does that make sense? It's not like I wake up every day and I say to myself, "You're a great person, Henry, and I'm going to get here today." I have a really good morning routine, but I don't really always. I'm not going to necessarily lie with you. I'll be honest. I don't really believe in all that. Look yourself in the mirror and say you're going to have an amazing day, because I don't necessarily believe those people in the first place are actually that happy or secure or anything. So I don't think you need to always do it.
Whatever works for you, really. I mean, I think when it comes to manifestation, I think if you believe something, you put enough work in to get it, you'll probably get where you want to be. But then there's also people who say manifestation, I just think about it. You're not going to get there if you don't put the work in, right? You've got to put the work in.
I appreciate you guys being honest about that, because for when I first got into personal development and you watch all these gurus and they're like, you got to do this daily, this daily, this daily, and you're like, there's not enough hours in the day to do that and actually go to work and live my life.
I couldn't agree more.
It's very difficult. Like I think early back in the day, Henry and I, and this is one thing we've learned massively over time, when we used to live together, and we used to be like, oh mate, we've got to be able to, we can live off 4 hours sleep.
Yeah.
Gary Vee always says 4 hours sleep, wake up early, go to the gym.
Hustle.
Then you've got to run a business after and do that. And then you've got to take your kids to school, and then this and that. And we're like, Jesus Christ, we don't have kids, but I'm choosing that as an example. And so Henry and I used to live off like 4 hours sleep, thinking, well, great, hustle. But we actually realised 4 hours is, for us especially, we're like, no, we need 7 to 8 hours sleep a night. And then we're so much more productive. And we've realised from back, compared to ourselves now, this was 5 years ago, we used to be like that hustle mentality. Of course, we still have hustle, we still work really hard. But now when we focus on sleep more and stuff, we actually now look younger, we're in better shape. And it's just by focusing on a little more recovery and actually, knowing, just planning your day. So you could, I don't know, have 4 hours sleep. You could be way more unproductive than someone who has 8 hours sleep. But who has a structured day, and someone doesn't have a structured day.
I know for fact people on Instagram will be like, hey, I wake up at 5 a.m. And they wake up at 5 a.m., but they do as much as someone else who gets up at 9 a.m. And I don't believe you have to get up at 5 a.m. to be successful. If you like getting up at 5 a.m., then by all means, go ahead. And I do believe there are less distractions. You get time to focus on other things. But if you're just chilling for the rest of the day, then what's the point? Like, I know people who do the 5 to 9 in the morning, and then from 9 to 1, they're like, oh, well, I've done everything, I can just chill. And I'm like, well, you can't chill. You've still got to work. Do you know what I mean? It's like, you get up at that time for a reason. And Will and I have realized that we just know that getting a good 8 hours sleep for us, because the amount we train, we need that recovery. We don't look as good. We're less productive. Our minds just are a bit like off. So you've got to get that recovery in and that sleep. And I think that's so important.
Find what works for you.
And it's a lot of trial and error, isn't it? Like, and you have to do that own work yourself. Like, there are thousands of like you said, self-development gurus telling you the best morning routine to do, but you physically can't do all of those. Like Will and I have tried, we've probably tried everything, mate. But and we finally found something that works for us. And I could give that to someone else, but it might not work for them. So it's about offering that advice and just being like, right, here's what I do. Take snippets from it. So I always believe you should take snippets from someone, this, and this, try it. And if you like it, stick with it. But then a year later, something might change. You may move to a different country. You may be on holiday or whatever, and you're going to have to change that routine a bit and adapt. And it's all about understanding that it's okay to have a little bit of time off, or okay that you can miss something. Because I used to be like, right, if I don't get my morning stretch in, if I don't have my green juice or my cold shower, I'm gonna have a shit day. When actually, if you I always say, if you've got like 10 things you try and master out, if you can just get 6 of them done in the morning, you're still gonna have a great day. But if you nail all 10, amazing. If you can't get all 10, don't worry about it. Give yourself a little break. Like, we're not all superhuman. We're not all perfect. Yeah. And
it kind of goes back to the Instagram thing as well, like how everyone looks at people on social media and thinks everyone's living this perfect lifestyle. But actually, we're all really human to stuff.
Yeah.
Like you said, when you said about my story yesterday, I posted myself being really anxious, me feeling really upset. And it's just so good to be open and stuff. Like, we don't all live these perfect Instagram looking lifestyles. We like to show the vulnerable side of us, as well as because I know we're still going back to the point of Instagram again, social media, but of course online we always share our best bits, right? It's all about just sharing your best bits. So we love to show like our vulnerable side, our open, honest.
And I think that's why we did the 7 of 7 as well, especially being Men's Mental Health Month and November being quite a big thing for Movember and things. So it was really good to show, when we're doing these runs, show our true vulnerabilities. Like when it came to like day 4 and 5, we were broken, mate. I remember on the 5th day I was running, and I got to 10K and my leg came so numb, and I was like, it'll go away, but it didn't. And I was in so much pain. I managed to complete it without stopping, and I just burst into tears when I finished. And it was just like, I wanted to show that to people, to say, listen, if you're ever going through something hard in life, no matter what it be, it's okay that you can open up and cry, or you can be a man. It doesn't stop you from being a man by just doing that. Because I think life's culture, when we were kids, it was always like, man up. You got told to man up, or
I still tell me to man up.
No, you got told to man up. You got told to be a man, or don't cry about it, by your friends or your peers or whatever. Whereas actually, why can't men show that side to them? It's way more authentic. It's way more you're being more real. And I think it's okay, like, no matter who you are, like. And the beautiful thing we got, mate, like Will and I, we do a lot of fashion, like we said, and that's great. People get inspired by that, and we do a lot of fitness. People get inspired to move. But the amount of messages we were getting from people who had gone through their own suffering, who were reaching out to us and being like, just to let you know, what you're doing is inspiring me. Like, I lost my brother 4 months ago, and I've been really struggling mental health, and he took his own life, and what you're doing is so incredible, and I'm so inspired to get myself up moving and get myself better again. And it's those messages which were, to us, was the most powerful influence. And
we were inundated with messages once.
And I think
when I posted them stories yesterday, mate, I woke up this morning and my inbox is flooded with about 200 messages saying, mate, thank you so much for just showing your vulnerable sides. Thank you for being real.
Yeah.
And I was like, it was such an amazing thing to have done, and just showed how many people we did reach with that, with our story.
One thing I really respect about the both of you as well is, obviously, having gone through and had a bit of a stalk through all the content that you guys have put out, you genuinely practice what you preach. There's people who, once again, everyone has a voice and a platform on social media, and some people say one thing but do another. And for me, I love surrounding myself and having conversations with blokes like yourself, where you're putting yourself in a situation to, one, use your platform to inspire others and show people what life's really like. It can be great, but it also has days which suck.
100%.
But also, you're finding ways to seek discomfort in order to grow, and you've learned.
You have to, mate.
Yeah. I love.
If you put yourself, if you put yourself in uncomfortable situations, you are going to grow. Like every winter, we have the Hyde Park cold. Basically, in Hyde Park, there's a massive lake, and you're allowed to go swimming in it, and it gets down to like 0 degrees. And I put on my story, I go down there, and I go down there and I sit in there for 6 minutes, and people message me going, "You're crazy." But I the things you don't want to do in life will naturally grow you. You have to go do them. Like no morning I want to wake up and go to the cold shower. I don't want to go to the gym every day, but I do it because I know the end result is going to be better. Do you know what I mean?
And I always say, if you want an easy life, do the hard thing. If you want a hard life, do the easy thing. And I always say that because it's so easy to come home from work, sit on the sofa and watch TV. It's not going to get you anywhere. But it's much harder to get up, go to the gym, and work out, and you feel way better from that. So I always say it.
I said yesterday, choose the hard right over the easy wrong. And when you do something like that, it's just naturally going to grow you as a person, because like the brain's natural thing wants to keep you safe. So our brain's programmed to be like, no, press the snooze button on your alarm, stay in bed, it's warm and cozy, don't go to the gym. But we all know that's going to tell us that, and our brain is going to do that. But if we can just counter that and actually get up, go to the gym, we're going to feel that is going to feel so much better than actually just.
I'm telling you, honestly, I have an ice cold shower every single morning. Right? And I look at it and I'm like, I do not want to do this. And I flick it on, just get in. I'm like, shit. And I get in. And honestly, and in London now, it's getting cold, right? So you step out that shower, you're freezing. And I'm like,
but doing those things, stepping into uncomfortable situations will factual make you a stronger person, like without fail.
It's funny because I know how cold it is in the UK, and like you guys lived in the Bondi for a moment.
Oh mate, I missed Bondi, bro. Missed Bondi.
We used to walk out of our front door with literally no clothes on, go straight to the
just like yes.
Yeah.
My best mate's a Brit. He's from Leicester, and he's the same mate. He just loves the sun day in day out. He's like, as long as there's sunlight, I don't care. I'm happy. But for us,
waking up this morning, mate, I was out for a coffee, and it's just like, whoa, it gets cold here, bro.
I'm looking out the window now. It's very grey today.
Grey day.
We used to that.
Not ideal. There is no sunshine. But what's next for you both? Obviously seeking discomfort, growing your brand, and a lot of, I guess, just quickly as well, could you give everyone a bit of a recap around what else you guys have going on in your life? Because you're doing so many amazing things and have a huge platform.
We'll quickly go through that first, but basically what we're doing at the moment, we are fashion and fitness lifestyle kind of creators, and we actually started off by doing a lot of fashion, and that was like our kind of thing. But we've always believed fashion and fitness go hand in hand. Like we love feeling good, and the whole thing was about building confidence in gents, because a lot of people are like, they're not that confident in life, and they're scared to go up to a girl, or they're scared to go for that job interview or whatever. So we always believe that if you get to the gym, then it's going to make you look good and feel good, and if you dress well, that's going to make you just enhance the whole confidence experience. You're going to be able to walk the streets with your shoulders back and just show the best version of yourself. So
we like bring out the best version of
so it's not just that side so that's like basically our kind of thing we want to push, our ethos kind of. And I think that's what it's really important to us. So we show the cool transitions on our Instagram. We show, because they're a fun way of showing fashion. It's not just boring photos of us or whatever. And then there's the fitness side to it, where it's all about mindset and pushing yourself, because we love, like, mindset is so key. I think people just talk to themselves so negatively, and I can't do this, or like people say they're going to do something and then they don't go and do it. And I'm like, why say it if you're not going to go do it? Like, if you say something, you go and do it. Do you know what I mean? And if you can't, you find a way around it. And I think so many people put stuff off in their life because they say they can't do something when they actually probably can. So yeah, but we've got a lot going on at the moment. I think next,
when it comes to social media and content, we're kind of hitting it out on the head there with fashion, lifestyle, fitness kind of stuff, and mindset. And we do a lot of like TikTok stuff, which is really our biggest platform is TikTok, and we again showcase a lot of fashion stuff on there. We do a bit of comedy, fun stuff on there, a bit more like going stuff. And then we're just about to launch our own clothing brand, and we also have our own podcast coming out very soon as well. So we have a few little.
We'll be having chats like this with you, bro, soon. Hopefully.
I did see you were launching a podcast. That's exciting about the fashion brand as well. What kind of
we've got
stuff?
So we're starting with it's like a lifestyle kind of like smart streetwear kind of design.
So yeah, we're gonna call it.
Are we allowed to talk about it now?
Yeah, we're a little
exclusive.
But we're gonna call it. We think we're gonna call it deux fois, and the reason is because it's that means in French twice over, and we're gonna play on the twin thing like 2 times. So that's the kind of idea. And it's gonna be like luxury streetwear kind of vibes, but more fashionable streetwear. So it'll be like quite cool. It's not going to be like polos or shirts, because everyone's done them. It's going to be like some cool designs. So we've got some good ideas, and hopefully we'll be launching that early next year. So that's exciting. Because
do you know what? I think the older we get as well, we love content, love creating content. We always create content. I think that's the future. Right? I think social media marketing is still the number one thing in the world. It's massive.
100%.
It's only going to get bigger. But I think for H&I, we always want to have our name on kind of like a brand. Would love to have our own kind of like products and stuff. And then, but we also, like I said, we love being in front of a camera as well, and love being able to talk to people and network.
I think there's so many things we want to do in life, but you know, you've got to kind of you could dream it, and you can, but it's like you've got to be a bit almost, a bit more niche, and almost like focusing on too many things. If you put then you could kind of spread yourself thin a bit. So you kind of got to sometimes focus on one to give yourself full 100%. So yeah, but about when you mentioned about going on to the what's next for us as well in terms of like fitness and things, like the day we finished the 7 and 7, Will went off to have a cold bath in Equinox, and I sat on my bed because I'd done on mine because we were doing ice recovery every day, and I sat on my bed and I text Will going, "Have you got this like weird anxiety and now you're finished?" And he was like, "Yeah, it feels really weird." And I spoke to a lot of ultra runners and a lot of people who've done this kind of stuff before, and it's like the day you finish these marathons or these big events you've been training for so hard is actually sometimes the hardest day, like the unhappiest I felt. Like I'm supposed to be at my happiest moment right now, but I'm feeling my most vulnerable and most anxious. And I'm happy to have those thoughts because it keeps me progressing to the next thing. Like already I'm thinking about what's the next challenge. Like I was back running a week later because I missed it so much. And everyone was like, "God, you need to be resting." And I'm like, "I know, but I have to know my body." And anyone can tell you, right?
But we took a week off and just recovering, stretching. Our bodies were broken. CNS system was absolutely smashed. But as you can imagine,
but you just miss doing that. Said, that drive for that thing. So we're already kind of thinking about the next thing. Like 2 days later, I signed up Chicago Marathon, so I'm going to Chicago next year. Yes. I was like buzzing for it, and then we've got Berlin Marathon as well. So we've got 2 next year, and it's like I think the long things like the 7 and 7. They do wear on you quite a lot, and it's a lot of planning. So we'll have to really think about those ones. But when it comes to the long marathons, like trying to hit your PBs, when we get in the zone, it's go time. Like I mean, there's no faffing about. It's like right, I've got my playlist. I know the game plan. I have the plan for the race, and I'm gonna hit it no matter what happens. Do you know what I mean? I just don't know what it is. Like when I was running the London Marathon, came to like 4 or 5k in, and I knew I was going to do sub 3. I just had it in me. I was like, I feel great. No matter what gets in my way, I'm going to hit this sub 3. And I could have got tummy issues, and I got them, and I was like, I don't care. I'm hitting this sub 3, baby. It's coming, and I got it. Yeah, it's happening. It's happening. But yeah, it's this weird thing. Like they say something wrong when the brain produces so much like serotonin and dopamine and stuff. Once you've done one of these 7, everyone's messaging you, everyone's saying, well done. And then the day it kind of finishes, the messages stop, things stop. And it's like almost, I'm not sure if you've heard, it's like that gold medal syndrome. So they say like everyone who's got like a gold medal in life, it's like they've trained so hard for it. And then the day it finishes and the day they've got that gold medal, it's like, well, what next? What do you kind of do next? And you've got to try and pick yourself up and be like, because it's almost like you got to pick yourself back up and be like, right, I've got to now go for this. Like we always say, it's enjoying the view from the cliff, but don't stay there too long because you'll end up kind of just getting a bit complacent. You've got to try and go again and go up that ladder again.
I think like Henry said, it was a weird thing. I think that was the first time in our lives really we had set ourselves like a full on, like when it comes to a goal like that, and we've achieved it, if that makes sense. And I think when you really put your steps in place and then you've kind of hit it, and obviously it was just a week's kind of thing. So, and it was such a big thing to do as well. So like when we finished that last one, we were both like, we went through so many emotions that week. Honestly, it was crazy. Like love, hate, crying, tears, whatever, everything, and then happiness, and then oh shit, we're anxious again. Now what's going on? So it was just so bizarre. Like we went through everything.
Yeah, I think people think when you finish one of these big long events or marathons, you're going to be like Superman, and everyone you're going to be strongest man in the world. But really,
the next day we weren't.
Yeah, but I mean, you go back through. You're a very normal person again. Like you will go through daily struggles. You will go through things happening in your life, but I think doing these kind of challenges, like we said before, is about growth and that growth mindset, and you will just become generally a stronger person. But it's not going to make you invincible. Do you know what I mean? It's just like keep doing them because it's going to be painful, it's going to be hard, and it's going to question your life and whether you want to stop. But if you put your mind to something and say you're going to do it, and you will not regret it one bit. Like day 4 or 5, I was like, I could have easily given up, but why? What for? Like your mind can take you on a weird journey. And if you push through it, you've beaten that negative talk in your back of your head, and it makes you such a stronger person. And it definitely made us both the stronger people, for sure.
Absolutely. Something we'll never forget in our whole life.
Yeah.
But it almost feels a bit fake. Like, I don't know why. Like, for me and Henry, I don't know. We kind of finished and we were like, oh, it feels normal. We just ran 7 back to back. I'm speaking to people now, mate. What you've done is unbelievable. And we're like, is it? I'm trying to scratch my head like, oh yeah, it is, isn't it? Kind of thing. We're still kind of digesting it now because obviously we only finished it 2 weeks ago.
But I think with Will and I, we have such high ambition.
Yeah.
We both love fitness. We love, because it makes you feel great. Like every day, it's our first thing off our list. Like we have a morning stretch, and that literally, because they say even if I've got DOMS, I stretch, because apparently the same receptors in the body, I'm not sure if this is science or not, but apparently the same receptors that have like pain and the same receptors with movement go through the body the same. So if you move when you actually do have DOMS or anything, you're actually going to feel better. So first thing every single day, we both stretch. Facts. That'll be our one thing we always do before I've touched drink, because people, what's the point when you get to 50, 60, not being able to bend over and tie your shoelaces if you've got all this muscle, right? So we are flexible people, like we're like rubber bands. And then we always get to the gym as well, mate. Start the day off right, get to the gym, whether it be a run or a weight session, and just makes you feel great. And I think that's when we realized we had done the 7 and 7. It was like, Will and I kind of thought, well, we could have done more. But then it's also like, I think we've been training our whole lives for things like this. Like, to someone, running just a half marathon is really hard. And it is, don't get me wrong, it is. But we've just been training so much that to us, it's now, we've built the tolerance up. And you've got to do that with everything. You build the tolerance up daily. And then the more you do, the easier it becomes. And that's like with anything. And we've learned so much with fitness that's taken into business as well. So for example, people think you can go to the gym and get shredded within a week. And then people are like, oh, well, I've lost no weight. I've actually put weight on and I'm going to give up. Don't see any results. And they do that too much with business. Like, they say they're going to start a cooking Instagram. They do 2 posts, and the only people who liked it, their mum and dad. So they give up. Yeah. And everyone does it. They give up on their endeavors too early because they're scared that people are judging them or people are looking at them different ways and they're not getting the results they want. They got all this negative talk in their heads, and then they stop. Whereas the amount of negative talks we were getting in our heads when we were running, but we kept going and we kept going and we completed it. That's, if you push through those negative thoughts, you can do so much more. And that's what the gym taught us a lot. It was like, it takes time and good structure and wants you to get in good shape. And then you may lose it again because something bad may happen. You may get injured, but then you change the course, and you just have the same goal to get what you want, but you just change the course. It's the same as business. It's the same as anything. Everyone expects it to be linear and straight, but really there's ups and downs, just like the stock market. And it's about how you adjust when you're at the bottom to get back up to the top. And that's what really makes you a strong character, and that will build you as a person. It's like being at your lowest and being like, right, how can I get back up to the top? That's what's going to grow you. And I think so many people expect it to be 0 to 100 and the easiest they can do it in, but it's not. It's really not. And there's going to be holes in the road, and you're going to fall into them.
It's the same as like when I said my house burnt down, right? And it's just a big dip in the old life curve. That's why I kept looking at it, and I was like, listen, it's a big dip. It's how you bring yourself back up and move forward again. It's like we said, fall forward, don't fall backwards.
That bit there was some solid gold, gentlemen. That was epic. That was good. It was giving me goosebumps.
Oh, mate, don't. Thank you. I mean, I think if it's one thing, I think Will and I, like, a lot of people will always judge you from how you were at school, and they'll always remember you. Like Will and I, actually. So in our high school, end of year 11, we must have been 16. In our books, we were, what were we? He was the biggest player, and I was the class clown. And people will always remember you for doing that, no matter how you talk now. So they'll always look back going, oh, I remember those kids as that. I remember him as that. I remember him as that. But they won't. But then the key is not to give a shit about those people, because they're not the ones you're worrying about. Like, you've got to just focus on yourself. Like me talking like this now, people would listen to it and be like, that isn't the Henry that I knew 10, 15 years ago. But people forget we learn, right? And you do the education, you grow up, you do the work. And Will and I were the 2 terrors at school. We were the naughtiest boys. We were told we didn't know the difference between right and wrong. We were failures at school. But we always say one thing as well, it's not about how you start, it's about how you finish. And if people, I think that's so important. And Will and I,
we truly believe we're only just getting started now. Properly. Like, I think like, and we're always learning, constantly moving, right? But I think we always say now, trust me, we're just getting started now.
Yeah, that's a
I'm
good mindset
excited
to
for
have.
you,
Always
boys.
think you're the bottom.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I'm really, really excited. Your energy is literally infectious, and you're walking your talk as well. You're not just on one end saying you're going to do things and then don't back it up. And you've got the proof in the pudding with everything that you guys have achieved so far. And as you said, you're just getting started. You have a podcast coming, clothing label, more physical challenges, which I'm excited to follow along. And hopefully
Mate,
we
yeah.
can
You have to
link up in the States or UK.
Yeah, definitely.
100%,
Or if you
mate. I
guys
think
make it
those
out,
physical.
you go.
Yeah, for sure, man. We would love to. Sorry, I think we seem to be butting in. Will and I, we can't stop talking.
No, you're right.
Yeah. I think, yeah, we used to live in Australia. Like you said, we lived in Bondi. It was amazing. And so, yeah, whenever we're over there, man, we'll have to link up. If not, you come to UK or let us know when you're in the States or whatever, and we'll have to do something, man. Because just love following people like you and just being on that same wavelength. Because some of our friends we've been best friends for, yeah, it's great. Like they understand what we do or whatever, but they don't always have the same mindset as like someone talking to you, because you get it, you understand it. So sometimes we have to explain it to them, and they're like, okay, I kind of get it, but I kind of don't. And it's like,
that's what life's all about, right? Like, I think one thing we've learned massively now, the older we're getting, especially, well, I said, well, we're 30 years old, but the older we are getting, we're learning more about ourselves and stuff, and how many people we really count on and call our true friends now, and who we want to spend time with.
Yeah.
And I really realised since my fire incident, who I really wanted, who I wanted to spend time with, who I could count on like probably two hands, who my closest friends were, and who really reached out for support, who sent messages. Even when we did this run, who donated, who shared messages of support, who shared messages of love, and said, "Look, good luck, boys, you've got this." Well, motivational messages or whatever. And we've realised that who our real close friends are. And look, yeah, just keep your circle really small, and don't give a shit about what anyone thinks about you.
And I know you mentioned it on Matt's podcast as well, but he said the same thing about who you surround yourself with is like makes such a difference. Like if you're surrounding yourself with people like yourself, Lachlan, and people who just like bring you up and support your ideas, then you're going to do really well. But I think one problem is in the UK especially, I think the UK is very meme culture. So for example, like you tell someone you're going to do something and they make a joke about you, whereas you go to somewhere like the US and they're like, bro, I love it, I want you to do it. And it's
How
like,
wild
actually,
is it?
that gives, it's so weird, man. So that's why Will and I were like, you get your camera out and you're vlogging or whatever, in doing your Instagram stories in the UK, people always do this to you, whereas, and they were like, laugh behind your back or something, whereas standard. Whereas you go to America, they're like, bro, what are you doing? I want to know it. I want to follow you. What's your content? It's like sick. Like you just get energy, and we love energy.
We're
like,
looking to actually move out to the States hopefully
yeah,
within the next 6 months. I think we just want to give it a go out there. Like we love London, it's our home. We're from the UK, we love it. But I think
for creators, I think
it's a good place
US
to
is
be.
a good place to be. I think it's like if you want to be a in tech, you go to Silicon Valley. You don't like, do you know what I mean? You want to be in TV and film, you go to LA. Do you know what I mean? There's certain places you kind of have to be and give it a go. And listen, you might not necessarily make it, but you're going to learn stuff along the way, and you can also got amazing stories to tell as well. So it's like if you go there and you don't make it, and you don't be successful, one, I can always come back to London. And I've always got good family and friends here which will support me and look after me whatever I need. But it's like I have a story to tell, and I hate going through life and being like,
and we've got nothing really holding us back. No mortgage, no girlfriends, no marriage, whatever.
But we hate going through life and being like, what if? Like, I'd rather give it a go, and even if it failed, then at least you know something. And at the end of the day, you're not really failing. I never say you fail anything. You just take a learning lesson. And I think that's it.
And I think at the moment, Henry and I we're very comfortable, and when life's not about being comfortable, right? You've always got to be a little bit in the going to the unknown. It's the unknown.
That's why we're doing random ice baths in the middle of the river in London.
That's why we do these things because we're stepping into the unknown and we're testing ourselves. Look, life's not about being comfortable. You get comfortable.
Get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Yeah, get comfortable being uncomfortable. So like, we're looking to move away. We do the 7-7, we've got challenges. We train. We do all this stuff. It's just get comfortable being uncomfortable.
Bloody oath. I'm with you, gentlemen, on moving to the US. We're in I think I was saying to you guys, we're in the process. Exact same thing. It's just like, it's so natural there and so normal, and everyone's just like, we want to help build you up.
Yeah.
Hence how we all got connected.
Totally.
Maddie was just like, got to introduce you to
it's the collaboration thing, isn't it? Like I think collaborating's so key, and
we love being around people.
Love being around people. Yeah. So it's great with Will and I, but then when you ask other people to get in your stuff there or do something, it's just it always seems to be harder in the UK than it does the US or anywhere else. And it's like, why? Like, you should be wanting everyone to grow. Like, when someone tells you their story and a vision, you should be like, I fucking love that.
Epic.
Do you know what I mean? Instead of epic,
we use it as motivation. Like, we look at people. So there's two different people in the world, right? You will look at people. Like, I look at someone's success and I use that as motivation.
Yeah.
Whereas some people look at some people's success
I
and
use
get
it as
jealous
hate.
and use it as hate.
So I see someone who's got 1 million followers, and I go, how has this guy got 1 million followers? Like, my content's better, but I don't hate him. I almost say, right, let's use you as motivation. You're inspiring me to work harder instead of being like, oh, I hate this guy. He's got pieces. I'm better, but he's got more followers. Do you know what I mean? It's like, use it as motivation.
It's a basic human instinct, right? We always look, because the first thing we do as humans, we look negative. We don't think positive. It's just a natural thing. I hate that. We do that as humans. It's like when you walk down the street and judge someone before you even meet them. We all do it. It's a massive negative thing about humans. We're all guilty of it. But it's how you should actually move through life, and don't judge people by that. Like, don't judge people for their Instagram. Don't judge people what you see online.
We've definitely talked judgment a lot about this, and I think it's going to be a hot topic on this podcast.
100%. But gents, it's been so fun chatting with you both, and I can't wait to connect and do some crazy challenge with you guys.
Mate, we will.
Somewhere
I would
around
love
the
that,
world.
man. I'd love that.
Well, for everyone tuning in,
we'll get you running 7 to 7.
Oh, mate, if that ever happened, I'd definitely be keen for it. But see how the body holds up.
I think we've got to do something different now. Or maybe I don't know. I don't know. We'll see. But you'll definitely be hearing about it when it comes.
Where can everyone at home listening follow you guys and keep up with the journey?
Cool. So we're on
social media channels.
We're on Instagram at both Henry J Wade and William J Wade, and then we have also our twin account, which is the Wade Twins, and then we're on TikTok as well as the Wade Twins as well. So there's
YouTube channels as well.
Yeah.
William Wade.
I was checking out the YouTube
so
channels
many.
earlier.
That's one thing we're really trying to. Thank you. That's one thing we're really trying to grow at the moment, because it's like that's, I think, the hardest one. But we put so much time into all these channels. It's like can get a bit brain fog sometimes. So it's just about having good structure, and I think we're going to really start pushing YouTube a little bit more. And that's one thing we're excited to be pushing.
I'm with you both there. I'm just getting into it as well. It's pretty fun.
Yeah, it's never too late as well. You always got to go.
Yeah, you can always find that audience. Thank you both so much for coming on. It's been honestly an absolute pleasure.
No, thank you so much, mate. Like, it's been so good to connect and chat with you, mate. And it really means a lot to share our story to you and to your audience. Hopefully they'll get some motivation and some real life value from this. And that's what it's all about, isn't it? Giving some value and hopefully motivating someone on their day to level up.
You've definitely done that.
Thank you so much, brother. But listen, have a blessed day, mate. And thank you for your time.